Hello everyone. Let me close this one and start with this one. How is everybody? Let me run fast and open my live stream. Okay, here we are broadcasting. Okay, he was waiting. We have someone who's waiting. Hoş geldin. Welcome. He was waiting. We have someone who's waiting. Okay, let me close my sound. Hello guys, how are you? Hopefully you are good and healthy and feeling all the positivity in the world, despite the fact that we are living in very dreadful times. So I hope you are good, healthy, and for each and every one of you beautiful people. Today, do whatever makes you comfortable, mister. Thank you. Okay. However, let's start. Okay. Let's start our lesson for today. Today we are going to talk about adjective clause, or they call it in some books a relative clause. Now let me introduce myself. My name is Ali. Today I will do the grammar part for upper intermediate, adjective clause and relative clause. Now let's be very sure. Here some books, they write adjective clause, but we are really used to the fact that it is relative clause, so we will start. I'm just trying to make you understand the fact that those are the same. I don't want you to mix or anything. Now we have, those are the pronouns. Generally the adjective clause sentence, or it is the sentence, it starts with adjective pronouns. So those pronouns are, as I highlighted them for you here. Why is not highlighted? Because we will talk about it later. Okay, so you've got here that, and you've got which, and you've got who, you've got whom, you've got whose. Oh, my sound is low. Oh, okay, let's be sure. Guys, can you hear me? Can you hear me clearly? Can you hear my voice? Okay. So Mr. Muhaymin have no problem. Okay. So this is the problem. Okay. Adjective clause, relative clause, that, which, who, whom, whose, when, where, and why. Now, this lesson basically gonna focus so much on writing, way better than the speaking part, because in the speaking, okay, very good. So in this part, the writing is very important for us, because you are not understanding. In exam, in test, you have so much mistakes when we correct your sheets of paper, exam paper, the answers. We have so much problems, comma and no comma. So the period, exclamation mark, apostrophe, the colon, semicolon, you have so much punctuation mistakes, besides the fact that some sentences that they don't make so much sense. So here I will make sure that you will not have any problem with writing, because when you speak, you can, you can make so much mistakes, but no one can actually notice because you are continuous speaking and trying to give an idea, and someone focus on your idea. So, without any further ado, there are two types of adjective-relative clauses. You have that and which and who, which can work as conjunctions and subjects. That's why I highlighted them with yellow color. That, which, and who, they can work in a sentence as a conjunction and as a subject. However, the others, they work only as a conjunction. So make that clear for yourself. Remember, those highlighted colors, those are work as conjunction in a sentence and subject. Okay? Whom, whose, when, and where are working only as subject in a sentence. Now, let's come to the type of adjective clause or relative clause. Now, there's two types where we can use those adjective clause. First one is when we defining. Let me make this silent, sorry. Okay, so when you are defining something, for example, something undefined. For example, if you say the man, I know it's the man, it's specific, but which one? We will go to examples, you will understand. However, I want you to understand the following. If it is defining something, which is basically the adjectives that we've got here, that, which, all, they are precedes by a noun. Somehow you need to put them when a noun after a noun exactly. So there is two types where you can you have to be very careful with. Let me put it in green color so that you can understand. It's very important in your writing. So defining, if you are defining something, if you are identifying something, for example, I said that I am talking about a store, about a shopping mall. I'm not specific. What is that shopping mall? So we use adjectives, those adjectives in a clause so that we can give more information. So to identify them, to give the name for them. However, modifying them is basically giving much more information about something else. Maybe it's a bit confusing for you. It will not be confusing when we go to those examples. Now, we've got those three simple examples. Now, I played it very simple for you. I used very simple sentences as a demonstration for the use of relative and adjective clause. So first example we've got is the man lives next door. The man lives next door. Now, remember, the man who lives next door is a doctor. Here you are defining who is the man. Who is the man? You are defining the man. The man who's a doctor. Okay? In this case, there is no comma as we agreed here. If you are defining something, the man who lives next door is a doctor. Now, you may tell me that that's not defining, that's modifying, giving more information. It is more information. But here, I'm trying to define who is the man. Okay? So here, no comma, because this adjective, they are worked as adjective pronouns. The adjective pronoun here is defining the doctor. Okay? So another very easy example here. This is very, very nice. Now, Dr. Smith. Okay, when you say Dr. Smith, you are talking about someone and Dr. Smith, in your neighborhood. Now, he might be the only one who's the Dr. Smith in your neighborhood, and in this sentence particularly, it's only one Dr. Smith in your neighborhood. So you are talking about this one. So Dr. Smith, here, comma, who lives next door is a doctor. Now, you already explained the fact that Dr. Smith, he is a doctor. And when you say who lives next door is a doctor, now we already know he is a doctor. You see, you already know he's a doctor. So those are only extra information. So here we are modifying. So if we are modifying, adding extra information to the sentence that we've got, to the clause that we've got, to the structure that we've got, we leave a comma. We are modifying the information about Dr. Smith. Okay? Now, here are some examples that it might confuse you, but I will do my best here to unconfuse you, okay, if I can say that. So, for example, here, number one, Jerry went to the same store where Geneva bought her couch. Remember, store. It's not defined yet. I don't know which store, what type of store I am talking about. Now, I said Jerry went to the store, to the same store, or to the store. I was like, okay, which store? Okay, so remember, where is for place. We use where for a place. So Jerry went to the same store where Geneva bought her couch. Now you have an idea about what store they are talking about. They are talking about store which sell, house supplements, supplies, couch, bed, and so on and so on. So when you say where here, in order to add, to define the store, okay, I am defining the store. What is this store? So this is one way we can use this adjective pronoun. Now, remember, there is no comma whatsoever. It's very good, solid sentence, no problem. However, I am highlighting this for you because this is the adjective pronoun that we have, and I am underlining this for you because this is the noun. After the noun, always there is a adjective clause or relative clause sentence. So the sentence, if you say where is the adjective clause, this is it. This is the sentence that we add in order to define the store. Okay, that's for number one. In English language, if you understand how to cut the sentence and how to order it and organize it in a way that any reader or any person that you are talking to or you are writing to, if you know how to make the word make sense for the individual, that would be very good. However, here it's very important that you are doing the following because grammar structures are very important. However, not that very important when you speak, but in writing, it's essential. Okay, it's very necessary. Second example. Frank went to study in Boston. Now, Boston is a very known city or a state, I guess, in the United States of America, and it's very common. People know it. You don't have to add any information, which means like you don't have to define it. What is Boston? Okay, Boston. And even if someone read it, he will notice here that this B is capital, which means this is noun, and not just noun. It's a city name or a state name, and it is famous. So you don't have to define it. It's a city where we are. It's not a geography lesson, you know. So you don't need to define Boston. But what you need here is to add extra information. Here you are modifying the first sentence. So remember, there is a noun. Always there is a noun before the adjective pronoun. So where? So Frank went to study in Boston, where some of the world's best universities are based. So what you are trying to say here is, my friend Frank went to study in Boston, and okay, very good. Either I know about Boston is very good for studying, or you like to add some information. You're trying to modify the sentence. So you will be like, some of the world's best universities are based in Boston. Okay, so here, as we agreed, up, there is a comma when there is modifying in the sentence. So remember, modifying, maybe it's confusing for you. I'll write simple words, adding more information. Okay, so modifying is adding more information to the structure. Basically, the sentence, the relative clause or the adjective clause sentence. So here is the comma. Okay, because I have so much questions between now and then. Why do we not use comma here? Why we don't use comma here? If you understand the structure or you understand the details of why we use and why we don't use, it's very important to understand. We have here, someone says, which, why it's not which? It's a place. I believe there will be no problem if you use which some of the world's best universities are based, no problem. However, you are here, remember, we are talking about pure grammar. Pure grammar can allow some mistakes. However, if it makes sense, it's no problem. However, here, it's very specific that I am talking about Boston, which is a city, which is a place, and also I am mentioning in the second sentence where some of the world's best universities are based. Okay, so this is very specific, very pure grammar, which you can use it no problem, I believe. Now, this is a bit confusing. This sentence here, there is some notes that we need to talk about here. This is just my easy and simple explanation of the adjective relative clause. Afterwards, we will go right to the BBC and we will discuss and make exercises about it. However, the third sentence here we've got the only effort, let me put it here in the middle so that you can see it very perfectly. The only effort that matters is that which. Here you can use which and that, no problem. In the exams, some of the exams, if someone wrote which, it is correct, and the other person wrote, and the other student wrote that, it's also not a problem. You see, you can use them both. However, let us talk about, there is so much that, yes? That, okay? So here, I want to make something very clear. That, this one, any that I'm talking about, general, like that, generally speaking, it's very confusing for a lot of non-native speakers because it actually can work in so much places. We can function it in many different ways. For example, here we have adjective pronoun. Here, however, came as noun. I will tell you why. The only effort that matters is that or which or that leads to when. Now, if you say to me, can I write like this? Let's say the only effort that matters is that leads to a win. If you say to me, can I use that, it's no problem. It's no problem whatsoever. However, if you don't want to confuse the writer, the one who are you sending the homework or the email or any kind of formal, informal. Basically, it can be informal because we use that so much. This is no problem. You can use that twice. Let me capitalize it and highlight it for you. Here, there is no problem whatsoever. So the only effort that matters is that leads to a win. It's not a problem, but it's confusing. So why do we confuse ourselves while we can use which in the sentence? And here you have diversity of adjective pronouns, and it's perfect there. So, and remember this, that here refers to the effort. The only effort that matters is that belongs to the effort. So effort is the noun here. However, this goes to the effort. I hope I have pen. I can do that for you. So here comes as noun, pronoun basically. So the only effort that matters is that which leads to a win or to a success and so on. So here, remember, there is no comma. So here we are defining the effort. What effort that matters? What effort that we are talking about? The effort that leads us to a win or to success. Okay, here we have extra examples which can be a bit different, and also extra information for you so that you can comprehend the idea of how to use an adjective pronoun clause. Because basically a relative clause, an adjective clause, start always with an adjective pronoun like who, that, which, and whom, and so on. There is something I need to explain for you here. Who and whom. Let me check. Hopefully I am not killing it for you. You can see it clearly. Let me highlight it for you. Here, who, as we said before, it comes as a subject and a conjunction. However, whom is very... Now, I have some students who have doubts what I should use, who or whom. Oh, this is start with who, so no, it's different. You see, who comes as a subject. However, this one comes as an object. I will give you example about it too. So the main differences between who and whom is who is a subject, comes as a subject. However, whom comes as an object. How? I will give you an example. Now we are here. Let's continue the examples that we have. Many students in Mrs. Reynolds' class who went on the field trip are homesick with the flu that's going around. Okay, now I want you to focus with me here. Let me put it in the middle of the screen so that you can understand. Don't be confused. In English language, if someone talking and sometimes typing, writing to someone, and he loses track of what he's writing, however, he's making sense in his writing, it might be occur that we can use an adjective clause twice, or an adjective clause inside an adjective clause. That can happen, no problem. But remember, as much as you use in a sentence so much adjective clauses, which makes the sentence a bit confusing for the reader. So what we're trying to do is to make everything less confusing so that we can understand the concept. So many students in Mrs. Reynolds' class who went on the field trip are homesick with the flu that's going around. Okay, now Okay. Many students in Mrs. Reynolds' class, I read that 3 times. Many students in Mrs. Reynolds' class who went on the field trip are homesick with the flu. That's going around. Be careful here. What I said before the adjective pronoun, there must be before it must be preceded a noun. However, class is not noun. Okay? The noun here, as I underlined for you, is the students. Now, how I know this? Because understanding is important. Many students, let's see here, we have Mr. Adil. Many students were in Mrs. Reynolds' class. You can say that. That's reorganizing the sentence, no problem. Yes, no problem. However, remember, you have a whole sentence. A whole sentence. So what are you trying? So you said many students were in Mrs. Reynolds' class. So what is your concept? What's your idea? Are you trying to tell me that there are so much students in Miss Reynolds' class, or you want to give extra information? Okay? So here you are basically telling me that there are so much students in Mrs. Reynolds' class. Okay? It depends on the sentence. What are you trying to tell me in the sentence? Okay? Your sentence is flawless. There is no problem. Many students were in Mrs. Reynolds' class. Simple, nothing. Yeah. However, here I'm trying to make a point, which is this. The noun, it not need to be exactly after exactly before the adjective pronoun. It can be here because this is the sentence. It's a sentence. So if you read many students in Mrs. Reynolds' class, okay, and what? Okay, now I know there is so much students, but what you're trying to tell me, okay? So here you're modifying, you're adding information, and here comes the comma. Okay, so many students in Miss Reynolds' class, so we are talking about the students, okay, who went on the field trip. Now, a field trip, it might be camping, it might be sightseeing, it might be a museum, and so on and so on, for any of you who don't know what's a field trip. Who went on the field trip, comma, why? Because it's an adjective clause sentence. Okay, so you are mentioning here an information and continuing the sentence. Okay, so here you are making the sentence more specific. Why? Because let's continue. Who went on the field trip are homesick with the flu that's going around. Okay, so let's delete this one in case. Let's delete this one. And let's see what we have in a sentence. Many students in Mrs. Reynolds' class are homesick with the flu that's going around. Now, the sentence is perfect. How you know it's perfect? Because it makes sense. You are saying here, many students in Mrs. Reynolds' class are homesick with the flu that's going around. This sentence has only one adjective pronoun, which is that. Less complicated, very simple, no problem. But we are talking now to be more specific, and especially here we're talking about a flu and a homesick. So let's go back again. This is a relative clause or an adjective clause sentence and adding information. How I know it's adding information? Because if I deleted it, it will give me a perfect sentence. I don't have a problem with it. So many students in Mrs. Reynolds' class who went on the field trip, now you are making yourself very specific, okay? Those particular students who went on the field trip, what's wrong with them? Are homesick with the flu, okay? They are homesick with the flu. Now, in this case, we have another adjective pronoun. Many students it's a noun. It's not all a subject. No, this is a sentence. It's a preposition sentence and continuation for preposition. Okay, this is here. Here we've got the students. However, it's the noun that we need for who, not all of its subject. No, this is if I delete this, it will not make any sense, which means many students who went on the field trip are homesick with the flu. Here I'm trying again to be more specific. So many students in Mrs. Reynolds' class who went on the field trip are homesick with the flu. So here you've got are homesick with the flu. Now you are trying to identify, you are here trying to define the flu. What flu are you talking about? The flu, because here we use the, so we are talking about a specific flu that's going around. So are homesick with the flu that's going around. Here you've got the relative clause sentence, and remember this sentence is not adding information because we are using the, so we are talking about a particular flu that goes around. However, don't use as an advice, don't use so much adjective clauses in the sentence because you will make it so much complicated for the reader. We don't want this. Mr. Muhaymin, he said, sorry sir, what is the meaning of in after where that Mr. Adel mentioned above? Many students were in. In is a preposition, sir. Many students were in Mr. Adel. However, thank you, Mr. Muhaymin. Mr. Adel's sentence is not quite right. It's not quite right. Many students were in Miss Reynolds' class. It's not a very tight. It does not make sense too. Thank you, Mr. Muhaymin. In, it's a preposition. However, the sentence of Mr. Adel is not correct. Many students were in I believe Mr. Adel, he meant to say many students were in Mrs. Were, not where. Were for past, was and were. Yes, because it's impossible where. It is impossible. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Okay. So here you've got it. First one, you can delete it, adding more information to the sentence here. And remember, you're adding information, put it in 2 commas and continue. Now we are coming to the second one, to the second example. I believe the first hour is going to be only examples, explanation, after we get right to the exercises. Now, yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Muhaymin. I just checked it out again. It's not makes any sense. So many students were in Mrs. Reynolds' class. Were, not where. Yes. So here we've got also a comma. Now this is very easy to identify now for you. Like, okay, this is comma adding information. You know, Larry failed his test, which means he'll have to go summer school. Now here I am underlining the whole sentence for you because here which refers to the whole sentence. Now remember, we are talking about the grammar, but there is a bit of understanding and sense and reasonable outcome of a sentence. Okay, so Larry failed his test, which means, now this one I use it so much. Why do I use which means? To give more, to explain what will happen next. Okay, so Larry failed his test, which means he'll have to go summer school. This is as simple as it gets. There is so much example when it comes to the adjective or to the relative pronouns. However, clause. However, sometimes when we speak, and because English is very wide, there is always there is an exceptions in English language. I can give you. That's why I'm not big fan of grammar, because if you are learning a rule, there must be a hybrid thing within it, which means there must be a difference, or there must be an exception. Okay, so we agreed that all the adjective pronouns must preceded by a noun. However, Larry failed his test. There is a noun which is Larry. However, if you are more specific, you will find out that the whole sentence we are explaining, we are defining. There is no store. There is no. He's not talking about a specific test. Okay, failed his test. Which test? I don't know. And besides that, when he used the adjective pronoun, he's not explaining afterwards or adding information. What is the test? Okay, this is the result. He's giving you the result. So there is no explanation or adding information to the test nor to Larry. However, he's giving it as cause and result. So because this has happened, because Larry failed his test, which means and eventually he'll have to go summer school. So there is so much exceptions in a grammar. So you have to be very careful. And as an advice from you, you really need to work so hard on your speaking skills, because when you focus so hard on your speaking skills, you try to comprehend, you will comprehend eventually the type and the diverse vocabulary exceptions and the grammar exceptions. Okay, so there is so much levels and so much exceptions in the grammar. Mr. Muhaymin said, yeah, that's what I mean exactly. Is it equal to the example in essays? Mr. Muhaymin, can you please rephrase your question? I can't fully understand it. Some sentences here are formal, some are informal, some you can write them down in emails, some of them you can't. However, we try, when we write an email or we try to write an essay and we are expecting that someone is going to read it, we need to be very and absolutely completely sure that we make our sentence less complicated, less confused for the reader. Mr. Muhaymin, is it equal to the example in essay? Which means equal to, for example? I can... No, you can't use this. No. Larry failed his test. For example, he'll have... No. Here, it's exactly cause and result. Larry failed his test, so he'll have to go to school. So he'll have to go to summer school. It's a result, and as we know, so we use it as a result. So Larry failed his test, so he'll have to go to summer school. So we can put so. For example, we cannot put, because which means we are trying to explain the sentence. What will happen if Larry failed his test? What will happen if Larry failed his test? If Larry failed his test, he'll have to go to summer school. This is just like explaining the Now, the last one. As we said before, who is a for subject and whom is the object. Now, the sentence with whom, and I believe, yes, the second hour we will do exercises and so on. Which can be used instead of Miss Mellis, which can be used instead of anything else. Anything else. I can't follow up on that. Miss Mellis, can you give me an example? I don't understand this one. If you are saying we can take which and we put anything else instead of it. Yes? Mr. Mohammed said, sir, I wanted to express another idea, that is, when I use example, it's pros for me. Is You are using comma because you're adding more information. If you are given an example, you can write comma if you are saying like, for example, comma, and we will continue. However, in writing, you can use for example, or you can use for instance. Remember, we are talking about upper intermediate, so for instance is much better and much good. I still don't, I'm trying to follow up on Miss Mellis, but which can be used instead of anything else. Please, Miss Mellis, rephrase your question and do capital. Remember, guys, when you are trying to talk about something, for example, Mr. Mohammed, he was talking about in. He put it in two brackets so that I understand it's in. So capitalize it, put brackets so that I can understand how you are, what you're asking for. Okay? You mean which we use it for things? You mean which we use it for things? I think this is what you mean. If this is what you mean, yes, which we use it for things. Yes. Ask any question you've got. I will explain this sentence and we will continue the questions. So that break, and after we take exercises and also questions. Any questions? Yes. Which is for things. Yes. Thank you. Okay. Now, the eccentric billionaire about whom the public knows little donated millions to charity. Okay. Understand something. I am highlighting it all because I want to make sure that you understand the following. If you have a proposition, which is here, let's put it a different color maybe. Here, when you have a proposition and you want to use it with the adjective pronoun, you need to put it before the adjective pronoun. Now, I'm being grammarly purist about this topic because it is the way it is, you know? So you be very careful here. the eccentric billionaire about whom, remember, whom is the object here. The eccentric billionaire about whom the public knows little. So this is the sentence where we are using the adjective clause. This is the sentence, and it's surrounded by two commas, which mean I can delete them and it can make sense. Look, if I do this, it makes sense. Doesn't make the eccentric billionaire donated billions to charity. The eccentric billionaire donated. However, we add more information for the reader so that he can understand it. That's why. Okay. So remember here, about comes before the adjective. However, prepositions are not commonly and not so much used. Some people use it because maybe they are reading books and so on, and they like to express their sentences. Miss Irina. Let's see Miss Irina. You mean which means? You mean which means? Which means? Which means is the thing that's before it. This is a result. Because Larry failed his test. So when he failed his test, it means something. Yani if he failed his test, maybe his father will not buy him a car. If he failed his test, his mother maybe take his phone. If Larry failed his test, probably he will not graduate from his university. So here an adjective clause used to an explanation for the sentence, the previous sentence, which is Larry failed his test, which means he'll have to go to summer school. And this is adding more information because I am waiting. For example, I am telling you here, Larry failed his test. Okay, I am sorry for Larry. He failed his test. Okay, but what will Larry do? I am thinking like, okay, are you continue? Like, I know he's failed his test. Did he cry? Did he feel bad? Did he repeat the test? Did he leave school? So I am waiting for a result. And the result comes here in a relative clause sentence, which means he'll have to go summer school. It's as simple as it gets. We will take example about it. Don't worry. However, this one, the eccentric billionaire about whom the public knows little, about whom they are talking about the billionaire, the man. Okay? So about whom? No, we can't use. Here it means I don't think so. I felt. However, if you are speaking it, I don't think it will be a problem because no one will stop you like, you have a grammar mistake here. However, we are talking about the pure grammar, so which is the perfect to put here. And we are back to this one. And remember, whom is not used commonly. However, here used with a preposition, and preposition comes in the first before the you're welcome, of course, you're welcome. So it comes before, and the eccentric billionaire is the noun that we have here for the adjective pronoun, and it's very easy. I don't think there will be any problem for you for understanding. However, I really recommend that you don't forget comma. Remember, comma is important. I am suffering when I correct writing sheets of students that I've got. Comma, period, it's very important. Capital, first letters, and if you've got here, for example, here we've got Boston. Mrs. Mrs. capital, Reynolds, its name capital. However, I am capitalizing those highlighted because I want to make you notice them. Boston, it is capitalized. You need to make people understand that you know what you're talking about. Now, and let's make English as a way of life. And even when I am writing in the live stream or on Instagram or on Facebook or anywhere, make sure to capitalize what needed to be capitalized and start with capital letters and so on. Okay, so this is pretty much, look, let me see my pages. This is very much, you can't see nothing, I know. This is pretty much all what we discussed today, from adjective clauses, relative clauses, and the name of them. Why, I will discuss later, hopefully, if I've got time. It's a grammarly wrong, that's why I'm not discussing it. Why it's not there with the relative clauses. However, we can use it sometimes. For example, Mr. Arif, why we put comma before about whom is not defining? No, sir, it's not defining. No, it's adding information because we don't need this one. Here, the sentence, we don't need it. The eccentric billionaire donated millions to charity. But after he added information, who is that eccentric billionaire whom the public knows little? And however, here you can put a preposition, but very wrong. If you put here, for example, let's say about, it's wrong because you can't put the start preposition and in the end preposition. So we are deleting this one. However, it's adding information. The eccentric billionaire, people know little about. Yani he's eccentric billionaire. We don't have name for the man. We don't have a specific man. We don't know which one is the billionaire that we are talking about. Okay, so here is adding information. The eccentric billionaire whom the people knows little about. Yes, it's adding information. Now let's go fast to why, so that we can take a break and continue exercises. Why, grammarly, there is not why in the adjective clause. However, we can use it. I believe there is. I'm not very sure. The reason why I didn't go my father near is because I don't talk to him. The reason why it's like this. However, it's not recommended in the language, and because the reason, you don't have to use the reason why. I will do my best. Exactly. The sentence does not change. If you delete about whom, let's go back here. If I delete about whom, I delete this one. The eccentric billionaire donated millions to charity. There is no missing information. There is no missing information whatsoever. However, I am adding this one so that I can add information. It needed or it not needed, you are just adding details to it. Yes, Mr. Arif. Yes. Okay. It's 56. We will take a break for 10 minutes. After, we're going to practices, quizzes, exercises, and whatever you want to call it. And after, after 10 minutes. So I see you after 10 minutes. If you have any questions, we will talk about them on the second hour. Okay, so we will do exercises, we will answer, we will discuss, give me questions, we will talk about it. Is it correct, wrong, or so on. Okay, so stay there, stick with me. Let's go break and go and come back. See you after 10 minutes. Yes. I'm looking at phone here like